going?
I
How you
am
been?
good. Yeah, all good.
Nice.
Excited to learn about React server components.
Yeah. Well, we already have a big crowd coming in of a bunch of server component lovers. But yeah, thanks for all the technical support in the chat. We got it working. But yes, I'll be DMing the ping people. We're gonna see what we can do to improve some usability here. But yeah, we're just here to casually explore something that has been in the zeitgeist for a long time. James, I don't know how long you've followed the React journey, but I remember hearing about concurrent mode, then suspense, then
hmm
servers, and all of this stuff. And I
Long
just
time
said,
ago.
that's a conference talk thing. That's not a real thing. And now apparently we're close to having something to play with.
Yep.
So I'm curious about it.
Yeah. It always, or especially early on, it felt like one of those things that was far off, and then now it does seem to be like more real and able to be included in projects, which is why I'm here to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that Next.js has been pushing for a bit. And up until now, people have sort of said like, okay, React server components are just a Next.js thing. So I'm only going to pay attention through that lens. But it's been promised forever as like this thing that anyone could use and any framework could use, including Astro. I don't know. Um, so that's really what I wanted to play with. What I ended up building was a starter project that is completely outside of Next.js, trying to figure out what server components does, the mental model around it, how similar it feels to Astro. So I don't know. Going to try screen sharing it, see what we can learn, and definitely what we can break. Since I've only made two components, and I made sure those two worked. And I just assumed, well, you can build anything now. I'm sure everything works now, as any good weekend project goes.
I know, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a little curious also, like what you've been building stuff with, since I know you use Astro now, but was there like a go-to stack for you over the years? And has Astro kind of replaced anything you used to use?
There's a few different things. I'm a huge SvelteKit fan. I'm a big Next.js fan, although I haven't like spent time with Next.js in a little while. And then I've definitely been doing a lot of Astro recently. So I migrated my site. I was actually migrating from Gatsby to Next.js, and then in the middle of it, I heard of Astro and tried it out, and I was like, "This is way easier for Markdown and a few other things." It's just like tailor made for that sort of website app. And anyway, so I've been doing a lot of that, and I just decided on my next course topic, which is Astro. I don't have the landing page up yet, but I'll be creating a course on Astro over the next 4 or 5 months or so. So keep an eye out for that.
Nice. That's intense.
hmm
Yeah. So it'll be like a self-hosted course platform sort of thing.
It won't actually. So I use Podia, and
Hmm.
you'll like there's lots of people who build their own course platforms. I think that's like it's doable, but it's such a big thing that I don't want to invest that much time in, especially when you get down to like adding a bunch of features. And it would be cool to do that over time, but I'd rather just lean on something that exists for now. So I use Podia for my course content right now.
Yeah, I feel like building a course platform is just like an excuse to write code while you're writing the course,
Yeah.
just to like sanity check you. Like, "Ah, I'm doing. I know like, well, I think of Wes Boss and I think of Josh
hmm
Komu. I know
Yep.
Josh has his own course platform built in React, and now he's building a
hmm
React course. And I guarantee there's going to be examples of the tutorial was built using
hmm
this, and here's a blog post, and here's a newsletter, and here's the full like content tool chain. Um, but if you're already building your own stuff like personal sites, then it doesn't really matter. And I wouldn't use Astro for a tutorial platform
hmm
anyways.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's funny, like Astro, I feel like still holds on to that brand of it's obviously like made for like a blog is the common example, and obviously it's
yeah.
optimal for that, but you still could do all the other things, right? Like there's nothing really stopping you from doing anything really. I think that Next.js could. It just may not have as many niceties around it, probably.
Yeah, like Astro assumes that like you want total control over routing and everything else. Where if you do like an Astro SSR app, it's basically just an express endpoint that returns HTML and you're
Mhm.
just writing the HTML with Astro. And it's like, yeah, you could bundle React Router into that and you could build a little home inside of an index.astro file if that's what you're trying to do.
Mm.
Or you could just, not do that
Yeah.
and use the basic file-based router and just make everything have page refreshes or whatever
Mhm.
library you're using to block page refreshes, which some people do. So yeah, you can totally just build you can build a framework inside the framework if that's what you're trying to do. It doesn't assume that you're trying to build an app, which is
Yeah.
like more work, but also more flexibility. Depends what you want to do. And at some point it's, diminishing returns.
Well, I just think about like the fact that you have access to the server gives
Mhm.
you the ability to do a lot of things if you're doing like
Yeah.
page refreshes on every page. So there's definitely some things that are more complicated, but I think people will sometimes have the misconception of like it's only good for markdown
Yeah,
content, for example, but you can do a lot more.
they totally do. Yeah. I'm actually trying to work on a little meetup talk right now about like opt-in design, what that means, where it's like everything's flipped off and then you slowly like turn on hydration here, turn on
Hmm.
routing over there by importing routing library. And like that seems to be the vibe that all these frameworks are going down is things are turned off instead of things being turned on so that you
Yeah.
are intentional when you start flipping on switches and you start bringing in all of those tools. But until then, it's just going to be, HTML or an RSS feed or whatever basic stuff that you're trying to put on the web or Markdown. I definitely think like people have argued in the past like Astro needs to figure out the app thing. We need to have like a cool router and we need to do all of that stuff. But the other avenue is like we're already good at marketing and blogs. Just dig in
Hmm.
really hard and make Markdown not just like a little better than Next.js, but like 10 times better.
Yeah.
So if you're
That was
doing
definitely
that
my
use case, like
experience.
that's the goal, at least with like content collections and stuff. I don't
Hmm.
know if you played with that,
I have.
but
I migrated
nice.
or updated to V2, and then I did the content collections and Zod typings and everything, and then enabled SSR. So I have a API endpoint that I generate all the skeleton for my newsletter each week. So it grabs like my
Ooh.
recent YouTube videos, it grabs content from my Discord, grabs my recent podcast episode, and like spits it out. Then I can just copy and paste that HTML into my newsletter, which is in Podia as well. And then I add in like the extra
Mm.
bits. But anyway, yeah, all that's been super smooth.
Nice. Yeah, that newsletter thing is a really cool idea. I've thought about it. And it's the reason I haven't updated my newsletter in a
Yeah.
few months. It's just like if you're already doing videos, like a newsletter is this other thing where unless it's so automated, it takes me 5 minutes, I'm probably not going to
Hmm.
do it. And right now it's like manually copying images into tiny letter and at least have them ready to go. But it's
Yeah.
just, I hate this.
Yep. And
It's
that's
not
what
good.
like my endpoint grabs images and stuff for video. So I literally just
Yeah.
copy and paste all this stuff in and then add like the description of um like the kind of the theme for the newsletter, and then all the rest of the content is basically automatically created for me. So
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
it makes it
And
a lot easier.
yes, before I need to make sure I shout out the raid. I still have like nothing set up on this stream to
Mhm.
announce cool stuff. So thanks for the raid, Julian. Welcome in. Are you the one that works on cool Astro libraries? I wanted to make sure because
Mm.
I'm going to shout out all your cool stuff if you are. But anyways, welcome in.
Love that.
I know. Yeah, there's so many Astro community members that just like join like video calls, chats for random web dev stuff. Anyone who's using Astro is a nerd, which is cool. We're not at that stage where it's like mostly people at companies that are using it because their manager told them to. It's like hobbyist devs and agencies that are like just using it because they already like it.
Hmm.
There's no like corporate or bureaucracy-ness around it. I've definitely felt that way about libraries in the past. Like, really.
I don't know if you have mods or if you want to look at it, you got a spam comment in the chat. Also, AJC, I just
Yes, thank
subscribed to
you.
your newsletter. So
Nice. Oh yeah, AJC. Oh
mod
wait,
you.
AJC. I already modded you. I thought. Hang on. Did I not mod you? Oh, how do you elevate someone to a mod? Hang
Somewhere on
on.
their name, I think you can.
Yeah, I thought it was on the
Or
name.
no, the mod command. Yeah, slash mod and then username. Yeah.
Aha.
Hmm.
Thanks. Yeah, I thought I had. I'm gonna mod someone else too. Let's get a few mods in here. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Dev. Good job. I actually was typing that, so I trust you to police. Today, Ben learned Twitch. I
So
relearned Twitch. I relearned
that was
Twitch with
the
every stream.
initial focus.
Yep. I also might have emotes if they were approved. They weren't. What the heck? I submitted emotes for approval last week, and they're still not available for y'all to use. Maybe I have to do something on my end that I didn't have time for. Yeah. This stream is, yeah, for someone who has streamed for like half a year, I don't have emotes. I don't have announcements for subscribers. It's, yeah. But I have a good camera now. So that's something.
What do you have? What do you have now?
It's a Sony A6300.
Nice. I've got the
Yeah.
6400, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. It looks great.
Yeah, well, thank you. I've done nothing to it. I just took it out of the
Just
box.
turn it on. Yeah.
Yeah, I plugged in the HDMI and it was just going. And I thought, oh, there's no downloads, there's no setup for, because I used the cam link or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And yeah, it just works. It was straight off of Facebook Marketplace, which made me a little worried, but it works.
Oh, nice. That's a good
Yeah.
idea, though. I feel like especially
Mhm.
if it is obviously in decent condition, getting it used is a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess you have to know. And I also don't know what I'm looking for in a camera.
Mhm.
So I just brought the cord and made sure it plugged in, and it did
Mhm.
without any
Nice.
scratches or anything, which
Yep.
is good.
Sweet.
Yeah. I've also been, I guess I've been stalling a little bit because I'm worried my screen share is gonna break your audio. But
Oh,
let's try once again.
do it.
I'm gonna
We
I'm
could
gonna do
also, if that didn't
yeah,
work out, we could do like a hypothetical conversational thing about it.
we can. Okay, you're still here.
Am I though?
Apparently you're still here. So that's good.
I want to pretend to like my audio go away, but I won't. I won't scare you like that.
Yeah. Oh god. It and it ought and it's street and I'm back. I'm messing with you.
Oh, okay. I was like, no.
It
I
worked.
was like, even
Ah,
wondering if you were messing with me, and I was scared. I was like, no, it actually turned out the way. All right, good.
totally messing with you. Okay. Also, I40, thanks for the sub. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming through. And I think you're a first time chatter too. Yeah, welcome, 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 welcome. And we are going to do some code at some point. But if y'all know this stream, we start coding either 15 minutes in or an hour in. It fluctuates.
And
But I
there's
also want to
no
be
middle
respectful of
ground.
your time. So
Yep.
let's see what we have going on. Can you see my VS Code window at all?
Inside of here, yep, and I should make it bigger, which is this button.
I think there's a full
Yeah.
screen.
It's not like super full screen, which is
Oh
interesting.
yeah.
I
Oh
can
yeah.
focus it,
I know what you're talking about.
but it's not. Oh, I can make it a little bit bigger. So yeah, I mean, I can see enough. Yeah, this is good.
Okay. Yeah, because I can bump up the font size. I'll do it one more, just for fun. Yeah. If let me know if you can make out the text, I guess. But
Mhm. Yep,
okay, cool.
I definitely can.
Nice. Well, some of this is also like demoing for all of y'all, because last stream we were trying React server components with a wacky starter project called Wacku Work that someone found. Jay Larkey in the audience, he said someone stitched together React server components with Webpack and Vite and one other tool, and it couldn't do production builds, but it worked and it showed you things, which was cool.
That's a
It's
good
very
start.
early. Yeah, I had to install like experimental versions of every package because React hasn't even put out like an experimental branch. I didn't realize it was this early. I
Hmm.
thought we were like, because if Next.js is already putting this in beta, I thought, oh, I can go try it. And no, there's commits like yesterday. So
Oh, I didn't even think about. So I was thinking like Next.js saying it was in beta meant like Next.js wasn't fully settled yet, but does that mean like
yeah,
there's still active work being done on like React server components at the core, I guess?
yeah, the core is very active.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, just when I hear beta, that usually means like our features are done our features are ready and we're just stabilizing. That's how we
Ironing
try
out,
to do
yeah.
it at Astro. And
Mhm.
React, it's like, no, they have two major RFCs that no one has agreed on yet that are still being worked out.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, that's good to know. I did not
things
know
are
that.
very in flux. Yeah.
Mhm.
But they have settled on this cool model to do stuff server side, which I've set up a very basic demo here. Um, so I can walk through some of it, but a lot of it's just like technical details that I need to go hide somewhere so that it's a more user friendly demo. But some of this will be familiar to people who are watching my stream last week. This is my code to fetch a server component and render it in your browser because I don't know how to render a server component server side. Don't worry about that.
Hmm.
But it will be a cool demo. It'll make sense in a second. And I also have this little thing stapled on to tell Webpack to use web standards because Webpack is weird. So as a user, you don't write this, but I think Next.js does something similar. Um, but yeah, this
So
whole thing is
this is just a regular React project, not Next.js.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
there's no Next.js involved. I've just set up a basic HTTP server with Dino, and yeah, it's a lot like a serverless function. Actually, I don't know if you've ever played with like Netlify functions or Vercel
Mhm.
functions. But yeah, it's the same principle of like you got a handler, takes in whatever you're trying to request, and you can
Requests.
just do
Okay.
stuff with it.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's all I'm doing here. I have a little watcher to refresh our browser whenever we change files, and a lot of very hard coded things of what a component would output. So that's a separate thing to do with like client side components. But some of this is telling React. This is literally spoofing Webpack. I copied it off of what that other project was doing.
Hmm.
It's all a very interesting setup, but it comes down to this where we import your component, which is where is that coming from actually? Let me double check on this because I should have set this up. Oh yeah. So every route is a server component. I set it up with like file-based routing kind of sorta. It's like when you go to the home page, it shows this component here, similar to the pages directory in Astro. And it's a default export for whatever component you're trying to render. And then our server is going to import that. Oh, over here. Our server is going to import that. That's scary code. Where's the good code? Here's the good code. It's going to import that component on the route. It's going to render it to a stream, which is a cool concept I just learned about. And then it's literally going to stream the server into your browser, is a way to put it. It says as HTML, but it's actually like a proprietary React thing that is being pulled off here. But it's
So
best
is
explained by running it. But yeah,
okay.
what
Yeah.
what questions do you have?
Well, I was getting you may have answered it by like we should run it and talk about it, but I was gonna get ask questions about the streaming aspect of that. But
Hmm.
if it makes sense to just run it and talk about it, do that.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm curious. Have you worked with streaming before, or do you know what that means?
I understand the concept. I've never done anything specific. Like I've done server send events or socket IO or something like that, where you open up the
Yeah.
socket connection front end to back end and you can send data both ways, which is like basically the idea, I believe. And then there's also like the observable observability idea in different frameworks where you just kind of listen for updates to a certain piece of data, and then you can do whatever you want, which I assume is kind of what the stream piece here is, but I don't know exactly how it factors in with in this case.
Yeah. No, that's it. Where you have a continuous connection between
Mhm.
backend and front end. And instead of like, having your whole app ready to go, smash it through render to string and just sending a big
Smash.
string of HTML. It's literally what it is. I remember setting up old servers where you just do React render to string and you like
Mhm.
hydrate the whole thing on the other side. It's easy to understand and definitely easier to set up. But yeah, this is breaking apart that React tree and slowly sending parts of the page as soon as they're ready
Okay.
and then booting them up on the other side. So it's a stream that will end as soon as the whole page is rendered.
Okay. So that gives you, I guess, the most relevant piece of that is I don't even remember what the name of it is, but the await basically where you can like stream, you can stream an initial render of a page without data while you're asynchronously requesting the data, and then when it comes through, you can pipe that in and just render it?
Yeah, pretty much, but
Okay.
without having to, like, fetch it client side. That's kind of the big thing
Right.
that server components are built around.
Yep.
Yeah, where it's
Okay.
like, because remember at, my last company, we did a bunch of GraphQL Apollo, where we were fetching data from over here with query hooks, and we were fetching, like, CMS data over here with more GraphQL, and it ended up sending, like, a huge bundle of JavaScript that requested everything as soon as you
Mhm.
visited each product page.
Right.
Instead of, like, doing it server side, so you don't have to ship API keys, and I
Mhm.
think the Apollo library is, like, 50 kilobytes, it's heavy.
Mhm.
So it was a lot to set up, and it would have been cool to like sort of have this pattern of only load some things,
Yeah.
but server driven.
So do you I guess do what's the comparison, the high level comparison that you do with Astro? So Astro will do things on the server before rendering the page,
Mhm.
and but it doesn't have the streaming concept. Do you align that to like Astro Islands where you only send JavaScript to certain pieces of a page that specifically need it and asynchronously?
Right. Yeah. So fun fact, Astro does have streaming. We just
Okay,
don't talk about it. Like whenever you use
cool.
SSR, we are streaming all the HTML through, and it's just the default. We turned it on one day
Hmm,
and I thought this is gonna break people, right? And no, no, it's just a good default. And we also, yeah, I think we use the stream helper for React as well, but we like,
huh. So you have
yeah,
the ability to stream updates?
yeah, it's I mean, the way streaming works with Astro is like if you do a wait inside of all your components, it's going to run all of these awaits before sending anything down the stream. So you're still going to get like the whole page in one big chunk, and
Mhm.
you yourself have to like write yield functions, I think. It's a pattern that one of our engineers Matthew showed me, and I
Mm,
haven't I just need to go back to it. Generator functions
okay.
are this like side of JavaScript I never use. But
Same.
I know.
Never I've heard people talk about them, and every time, like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. The basic concept is like it's a function that can keep returning stuff over time. Like it doesn't just return once. It can like return the first item, then it does a request, returns the next item, return does a request, returns the next. And if you like write out that loop, you can get Astro to sort of like stream things and see it pop in your browser in order,
Hmm,
like over
okay,
time. But
interesting.
that it's very manual. And React
Right.
has this one special thing React that Astro doesn't have that I'm interested in to sort of like pick and choose what streams and what doesn't.
Hmm.
Uh, so I'll go ahead and run it to see what we get. And you also see when you use Deno, you have to allow everything explicitly when you like run a command. So it's like I'm
Oh,
allowing it to
interesting.
start a browser. I'm allowing it to read from my file system. I'm
What?
allowing it
Is
to
there no
F.
better like,
I don't
there's
even
no
know what
config
FFI
file or
is.
something?
There actually is, and I have it's the deno.json, and I bet I
Okay.
could do it from here, but I just set it up as a task, which is like scripts in your package JSON,
Mm,
uh,
okay.
and so I say deno task serve, and it just like does this. I'm sure I could
Okay.
list it out somewhere, like permissions. Is that a
Yeah.
thing? That's not. Well,
Permissions, question mark?
You see, Copilot thinks that's a good idea. I sometimes use Copilot to see like I'm designing a new Astro API. What should it look like? And it just comes up with
Mhm.
stuff. I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea. Maybe we should ship that. I don't know if that's how it works though. But if we pop this up, we see hello from the server.
Sweet.
Very exciting. So the way I have this set up right now is I have this root that well I have the heading hard coded down here. It's just sending an HTML file. It says hey, and then it mounts React inside of here. And that's all it's really doing. There's
Hmm.
no server rendering as it's set up right now. I'm still figuring that out. But yeah, it's going to mount React inside of there. And this is what's making a request to go get that server stream and put it on the page as soon as it's ready. And you saw a little delay there. That's because I'm literally like, there's no bundling involved here. I'm just shipping. Let me try to zoom in as much as I can. But I'm just shipping React as imports in the browser. There's no bundler, so it's going
Hmm.
to be slower than your app probably would be.
Yeah.
But it's a really nice way to just get a demo out there where there's no build step to wait on. Like what this dev server is could be deployed to production without any modification. which is it's
Gotcha.
kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can
So
see
that
there
s-
it's appearing.
yeah. So it ships it ships the original skeleton and then like loads the or streams in the hello from the server. Like when and how does the hello from the server get rendered? Does it ship to the client? The client then opens up the stream and then it streams in the hello from the server?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's a little better when you're, like, using a router, like a single page app router.
Mhm.
Like, the first load we got here, ideally, the server would already have this. Like, we wouldn't have to send something to the client to go fetch this, which is kinda how we're doing it right now. But if you imagine, like, a route change, like, now I wanna go to the about page, go just fetch the about server component. And then,
Right.
yeah, now you're going to do a fetch call. You're going to render it to JSX, and then you're going to let that stream on all those updates onto the page. So
Okay.
it's kind of nice to ship JavaScript to like go load the thing for the next route and then put it on there.
So
Um,
if this was like in Next.js, for example, it would have done a server render of hello from the server
I
before
believe
actually
so.
going to the browser. And then if
Yeah,
there was like updates because you're loading data asynchronously, then it would stream those.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
that should be how it works.
Okay.
And at least with this, we get a better idea of maybe not how quickly things would load, but what JavaScript ships. Because when you load a Hello World in Next.js, it ships 120 kilobytes of JavaScript, which is
To the browser.
nuts. Yep.
Is that
It's kind of
before
nuts.
React server components?
Yeah, before it's just a baseline for the Next.js router, React, and whatever
Okay.
else they're using. I'm really not sure.
Okay.
But it was a problem when I was trying React Server Components before because I was like, I don't know what the cost of these are. Like we're pretending it's like Astro, but you're shipping all this JavaScript. Surely I'm missing something because I thought the promise was like, don't do that.
Promise was not shipping. And
You know,
maybe
the promise is
there's
not shipping.
yeah, I don't know if there's I mean, there's gotta be like optimizations that they would be doing, right? Like based on
Hmm.
well, I don't actually know. But if they're like if you have a page that's all server components that don't actually need any asynchronously loaded data, in theory they would be doing optimizations on the front end to not load additional JavaScript when it's not necessary, but I really have no idea.
Yeah, and it's confusing to me that seems they don't. Not sure because one interesting thing about like the network activity here is well we have all of the React resources loaded up their production bundles, but they're still like separate, so these could be smaller. But we load React DOM, which is the big guy. That's 45 kilobytes, and when you're using React, you're gonna be loading React DOM. Like that's the big daddy.
Mhm.
That's the virtual stuff. Like that is a baseline cost I think every React app has. But this index.tsx file doesn't appear in our browser at all. It's not going to load anything that this loads. If this imported Apollo or something to like fetch data, Apollo
Mhm.
would not ship to your browser, which is kind of neat. It's just instructions of what the server should do before it sends stuff
Bef-
to your browser.
okay. And that makes sense. So you'd have less JavaScript than obviously if you sent it from did it from the client. But then there's also like SSR, like just regular SSR in Next.js
Mhm.
would have the same performance benefit, right? Because SSR would load, like get server side props would load data before sending it
Right.
to the browser to get rendered. Is this just like a
Yeah.
syntactical way to do this?
You are right. Like anything done inside of get server side props is going to be split out. But
Hmm.
the interesting thing about server components is they work exactly the same as Astro Front Matter, where you can fetch inside of any component you want to. So instead of like trying to prop drill and do everything inside of one big server side props function, every
Hmm.
little component can fetch its own data. And you can like parallelize it. You can choose whether to put a loading spinner or not. You can be really flexible about it in ways that like get server side props you couldn't. It was like this one god
Because get
object
server
with
side
everything.
props is just for the page, not for the individual component.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And
And
I can at least write something here to show what's going on with that. But this is what server components let you do is React functions can now be asynchronous. where you can say this function is now
Hmm.
async. I'm going to
And
wait
do,
for
yeah.
some data to come back and then I'm going to send to the browser. And just for fun, I'm just going to console log here. Hello from the server. Do that. And it should pop in a little bit later. And you get a hello from the server log over here that does not fire over here. So it's like, you see the 1 second delay
Hmm.
and then it pops in. If I change it to 2 seconds, it should be like a 2 second delay and then it
Hmm.
comes in. So you have that kind of flexibility now.
So if you're leveraging loading data asynchronously to actually render on the component, do you have to use a specific like syntax, or is does it just know if you're using await and then waiting for data to come back that's then referenced in the component to stream it automatically?
Yes. So the thing about like choosing is it a server component or not? Is that kind of the question? Like how does it know I'm able to do this?
Well, it would be like I think in the app directory in Next.js 13, if you choose to use it, it's server component by default, unless you tell
Mhm.
it like the use client or whatever it is to
Yep.
tell it that it'll be on the front end. But like, so right now you're doing something asynchronous that is not loading data that then the render method is dependent upon. Like if you were to say const data equals await load data and then
Mhm.
reference data inside of the component, does it automatically stream that? Like it knows just when it hits an await, like go past that, do a render, and then stream any updates after that? Or is there a specific syntax to know this component needs to stream when that data is available? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like is it blocking or not?
I assume, well, based on this, it doesn't seem like it's blocking because it returns the HTML to the browser before it logs the thing. But does it,
Mhm.
like if you just did a fetch request in there, like to the Pokemon API or something, and then like use that data inside of your render?
Yes. uh yeah, you can totally do so inside of your render, what are you referring to with that?
Like inside of the JSX.
Okay,
Like
inside the
in
JSX. Got it.
in square or curly brackets, you just logged out like Pokemon dot length or something, like whatever.
Yeah, whatever this is. I honestly don't know what this is. So let's do that. I can add a pre-tag, JSON, stringify it. So we can do
Good idea.
that.
Yep, the old JSON stringify.
And then it'll come in as soon as the data is ready. But before that, you won't see anything.
Okay.
So it is blocking in that way.
Can you do an await timeout thingy above Pokemon? Like if you just move the new promise set timeout thing above.
Yeah. So yeah, let me do that in a more interesting way. So this will be about the same. But if I did something like this, I split it out to a new function. Not even close, Copa. We want this. So we're gonna render Pokemon, and we're gonna put it inside of a subcomponent.
My dog is freaking out looking at the window, looking out the window.
Oh no.
I don't know if, well, now the other one is too.
There's nothing out there. It's just the mailman.
Yeah, man, I think like a dog walked by or something.
Ah, a rule. Okay, does this? Oh, you have to put it on the same line. Okay. So here's an interesting setup, and I think this will. Oh, okay. Pokemon load too fast. That's the issue. So I'll juice it to just pretend that it takes 1 second. This is just like pretending something takes longer than it does. But with this setup, okay, it will wait to do both. That's what it should do. So what this is going to do is it's going to find that it needs to wait 2 seconds. So it'll do that. Then after waiting 2 seconds, it'll see, oh, there's a Pokemon component. Let me try to render that. oh, this needs to wait an additional second to load more stuff. All right, so I'm also going to wait on that. And then once all of that's done, so 3 seconds total, it's going to do the 2 seconds and then the 1 second query. Once all of that is ready, it's going to stream the whole thing in one go to your browser. And that's the default behavior. And
So
it's
it's
kind of like
not
what Astro
gonna.
does.
Okay, so it's not gonna stream anything before. It's not gonna stream anything before all those awaits are done.
Right. Which is the
Okay.
default, but you can use this old tool that I haven't had a use for until now.
There we go. Okay.
Suspense is here. Yeah. And your fallback is, loading Pokemon like that. And you need to wrap the thing that's querying. But we should see in the browser, oh, not found. That's not good. What happened there? Oh, no. We're
It's
getting an
highlighting
error.
Pokemon for some reason.
Oh, it imported from a weird place. So when you're
Oh,
using
nice.
Deno, it really
Yeah.
does not get imports right anymore because there's no package JSON. Separate thing. So we're still getting an error. What am I missing? Okay, this is not highlighted. What's going on there? Oh. Okay. It does a 404 if you have like a syntax error. I should probably detect this. But there we go. So you get hello from the server, then loading Pokemon. Now
Okay.
it's going to stream the result as soon as it's ready.
So that was my
that,
original question
and
was,
then
is
that.
there a syntax you have to use to be able to wait that specific thing? And in this case, it's the suspense. That's what
Yes.
suspense is for, specifically to target like this thing is going to be asynchronous. I need to wait for it. And then the fallback could be a component, right? So you could render not just a piece of text, but like a full component of some sort, a paragraph tag that says like loading.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And what's interesting is it's not sending anything to the client to wait on stuff. It's just how streaming works. So that's the part that because I know it's suspense. I think like, oh, client side stuff. I'm going to use suspense to like wait on a query and show a loading spinner. But here it's just sending the result is like some JSX that we can throw in the browser. And I think it's a little interesting to just see what the stream looks like because I was staring at this for a while. But it does this. It just streams that and then that and then that. So it's like this big object that React is able to like parse and understand once it gets to the end. And this syntax is like super proprietary. I understand nothing about it, but I at least
it's there.
know. Yeah. And I don't know why the numbers are out of order where it's like 0, 1, 2, 1. I don't know what that means, but it does make sense that it's like literally delaying responses in the browser, and your network also reflects that, where it's like does this and then that and then that, and it's one big request that gets fulfilled as soon as everything is done streaming.
Sweet.
Yeah.
By the way, in Astro, you were saying like that's how Astro works. So by default, when you load data in your front matter in Astro, before you enable SSG, like that stuff it's all done at build time, right? For a static page.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you enable SSR, then it works like this, where it's going to wait, load the data, then send like render the component.
Yeah. And I bet we could do a little side-by-side here. I might also message Matthew about generator functions because I'm trying to remember how we could do that suspense thing because it is very fun. But yeah, I'll do a template. Do we have an SSR template? I don't think so. We just do basics, Astro SSR. Find any excuse to say hi to Houston. What's up? How you doing?
Houston's the best.
Right. The
Have y'all? Is there any update on Swag Store?
Ooh, good question. Did we launch that?
I don't know.
It sounds like we haven't.
Is there?
I know that it was. Now I'm wondering how much I can say because I have seen like previews of it. It was looking real good, real nice. And it's not on our homepage yet, so I'm assuming we're still like putting finishing touches before we release it.
No,
but it's there. It's ready. We're ready to buy it. Yeah,
I love it.
I'm gonna ask the team because if it's live, I'm gonna tweet really loudly and see if I can send you free swag among other people. I
I'll pay
mean,
for the swag, but either way, I will be excited. But I'd
I'm
love to
excited too.
do I don't know if this is in the ideas for swag, but a Houston plushie, like a Houston, like, plush toy thing, that'd be cool.
It would be cool. Yeah, just a little guy. I don't know what he would. Yeah, 3D. It's pretty easy to do. He would just be a box.
Yeah.
Let me turn off this server. I don't know if anyone saw, but it said like refreshing 200 times. There's something wrong in that code, and I don't know what it is.
Could be anything.
Yeah, it was my first time writing my own WebSocket to like refresh a browser. It's
Mhm.
surprisingly like someone wrote a blog post about it, and it was really nice to follow. I
Hmm.
haven't like read a blog post tutorial in a year, I think. I just don't
It's
learn
just
through
about finding the
blogs.
right one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
like
do
an
sometimes, it all
old-fashioned
depends.
Dev2 blog, just learning a thing.
Mhm.
It was nice. It's peaceful. Let me add Node. I don't know. That'll do it. Add
Oh,
Node.
like the Node plugin?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
will bootstrap a Node server. And these days, if you run preview, it'll actually like boot up the Node server correctly. So you can debug it locally. There was a time where we didn't even do that. So it's really nice to work with Node now. Could have done a Deno server, but I'm too afraid. I don't know if I trust that. So I guess we can do the same code that we had here. The one thing we don't have is suspense. Like, how do you
Right.
block certain parts of a page?
Yep.
And that's something that's like, maybe there's a pattern. I just need to find it.
Would islands not be, like, very similar to that?
It's like if you shipped an island to do this, it would be a client side fetch to delay it and go get the
Correct.
stuff. There's no way to do it server side
Right. But it
with
would
an
have,
island.
like, similar impact of like, understandably, you may not wanna do that, but a similar concept of when the data gets there. So not all the data is there at first, and then it comes in when it's ready, but it would be loaded on the client versus in the
Mhm.
server. Okay.
Yeah, which would be like a more traditional um, React app
Yeah.
where, or any app really,
Yep.
where you're just sending down the server result and then you're hydrating on the other side. That's another thing I have no answer for is like, what is the hydration story? Does it even exist with server components? What is going on? And yeah,
Well, and that
I
would
don't know.
potentially save wouldn't that potentially save a lot of JavaScript being shipped too if it didn't have to do hydration?
Yeah, I mean, you saw in the stream thing that it was doing. It's like that's kind of what hydration looks like. Like if you
Oh, yeah.
inspect JSON, it's roughly that object.
Okay.
But instead of sending like massive blob that has to get parsed in your HTML, it's like make a request when you're ready, and then we'll
Mhm.
slowly send you parts of that tree
Yeah.
as we render them. So you
So
save some
instead of
load.
doing all the
Yeah,
hydration, you still have them like, suspensed.
they are suspensed. Yeah. And it like sort of takes all the props and it puts that in that big tree. So it really is the same as like what the hydration object looks
Mhm.
like. It's
Okay.
just now it's streamable, which is just a weird concept. I haven't worked with streams before, and I guess they're not sockets technically. I don't know if someone in the audience wants
Really?
to be actually about it, but it feels like they're the same. It feels like they are. A stream is like you know when it ends, and a socket you have to explicitly say I'm done listening to you. I feel like that's the difference I found, but I don't know if I'm right.
I would imagine, like, either side can terminate a socket, right? Like, you can stop listening or someone could shut down the socket that created it, which I would think I actually don't know the answer to this, so if somebody wants to correct, please feel free, but, like, a stream like, when you were saying you know when it's done, that's someone, like, terminating the stream, right? The same way you could send a, like, socket in message to a socket, so I would think
Most likely.
it's probably the same type of thing under the hood, but I'm, again, not 100% sure either.
Yeah. Okay, AJC sent something in the chat. I have no idea what that means, but here it is.
This is a stream
Yeah.
transfer.
I thought I'm immediately like, I thought WebSockets did TPC stuff. I'm thinking back to one networking class I did in college that I did not do well in. Uh, but okay. Streaming transport, message based. Streaming feels like one continuous message to me, but I don't know. Yeah, they're reassembled in full before the delivery. WebSocket event. That okay, I don't know about full duplex. I'm lost. I don't know what that means. Uh does this mean anything to you?
The definition of
Or does
WebSockets being bidirectional, I don't know about duplex, but and long lived totally makes sense. Like that's kind of
that makes sense. Yeah, I
the
totally agree with that.
stereotype. But unlike TCP streaming, is a message based transport. Limited reassembled, yes. Yeah, but I don't know where. Like to me, streaming is still WebSockets because they streaming would be bidirectional, or at least could be, and long lived.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure.
I think you're right about that.
And then AJC linked an article WebSockets versus HTTP, which I
Yeah.
think is still different. Like I don't think HTTP in that case represents like streaming. Like I think the WebSockets would still be the streaming part. Uh,
Mhm. I think so.
who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, just for fun, because this is also kind of preparing for a meetup talk that I'm giving. But if we
Oh,
write the
cool.
same thing side by side, if we loosely can here, minus the suspense, which we still have a little question mark on,
Hmm.
but it's the same concept of like put async stuff above your markup and then you can access it below your markup. It's just
Hmm.
one has triple lines and one exports a function.
Yep.
It's, two sides of the same coin. The only difference is that use client stuff that it sounds like you've already seen. Where
Hmm.
like in Astro, you put it on the component, but in React, you put it where you're declaring the component.
The
So it
component.
goes
Yeah.
in, yeah, which is going to cause all sorts of migration problems for libraries. People have already been asking about that. Like, so does that mean every library ever needs to add use client? And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
So,
Okay.
woo, yeah.
And again, the big distinction, just to kind of reiterate for myself, of what we would see in Astro in this example versus the suspense part that we just saw, is Astro. If you use client side, if you use Astro Islands, you'd be getting the Pokemon data on the from the client versus you'd be getting it from the server with um, with suspense and React. But
Yeah.
the way
If you
you're
need that delay
mhm.
experience where
But
you
what
want
you're
to
doing
stream
now is
it.
you're loading everything on the server before actually rendering the page.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to start,
Yeah.
see what that looks like. This should, that's not our app. How is it doing that? Wait, is it our app? Do we stream?
Wait, refresh that?
Hold up, hold up, hold up,
Pokemon.
hold up. No, this isn't it. How is it? Okay. Hmm?
Well, update something like on the text. Hello from the server dot question mark or something.
Oh, we don't need this. Here we go. Yeah, I did. And one, two,
Oh,
one. Oh my
it's
god, it
coming.
streams. Oh my
It's coming through delayed
god.
for me, so I couldn't actually see it. Like the video that
Oh.
I'm watching is delayed, so I couldn't see it. But it like loads hello from the server first.
Yeah. I am wrong about how Astro works. Well
Wait,
then.
but isn't
Yeah.
is this a
So
this is have you already SSR enabled this?
it's streaming. Yeah, I have.
But you set in the
This is
config or
SSR.
whatever. Okay.
This is SSR.
Whoa, what?
Okay, Astro, we're cooler than I thought. So there's no way to prevent that behavior, also, unless you flip off stream, which I think is an internal flag. But yeah, you can see right there. It's a long 2 second and then a 3 second waiting on content download. Look at that, crazy.
Wow.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. That answers that. So if you wanted to prevent this, you would have to be really explicit and like, no, I need to do everything up here. And let me do that. So if you wanted to delay everything, you got to make sure it's like there. And then pass it down.
So how did it know to stream? Was it just because that was in a separate component?
Yes.
That just happens automatically. So now if you refresh it, it'll load everything at the same time.
Yep. And now we're seeing a 5-second delay there. You can't see it because it's not going to unload the page. You just see like about 5 seconds of loading here before it comes down. Yeah. 5 seconds.
What?
Uh huh. I knew we had streaming, but I didn't know it just worked. Like this. Okay.
Huh.
Never mind.
I feel like that's really powerful,
It's
especially to
really
not be like,
powerful.
is that documented like that?
I don't know. I really don't know. Docs, Astro, streaming. I know. I hope we say we do streaming somewhere. I don't think we do. Streaming.
Question
Yeah,
in the
they're right
chat.
there,
Why
right there,
isn't
right
that
there.
on the front page? Oh, the
Because it's
video
just
for me
so
is so
subtle.
delayed, and
Oh, I'm
so is it,
sorry.
no, it's all good. Does it say it says streaming on the docs though?
I found the word streaming in one place on our docs. Okay.
I mean,
Astro
especially with
uses
the hype.
HTML streaming to send each component to the browser as it renders them. This makes sure to use your Caesar HTML as fast as possible, but it means Astro runs your component code. It is already sent. Yeah, this is where you get into response header territory because you can do so much stuff inside an Astro component, including like put a cookie up there, set your
Mhm.
meta tags, all of that stuff. So you have to be careful with like, did you send it to the browser before setting the cookie? Well, then it's not going to be able to set the cookie because you can't do it midstream, I'm pretty sure. So it's kind of warning you like, nah, be careful because it might you need to do it at the
Wow.
top level if you're going to do this.
Right. Wow, I feel like this definitely deserves some like branding and talk about it.
It sure does. Yeah. Yeah, because I
Also,
remember this was a silent thing as part of 1.0. This was pre 1.0 that we added streaming, but we just never talked about it since.
okay, interesting. Also, some people are mentioning that the streaming would be unidirectional instead of bidirectional. That it'd just be the server streaming to the client, which makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Which I
Yeah,
didn't
client.
know,
Mhm.
but I guess they're still referring to like HTTP streaming versus web sockets.
Yeah, WebSocket's the bidirectional one, right?
Right. I guess I
Because
would
I know
have
you're
thought they were
both ways.
kind of the same thing, just one was unidirectional and one was bidirectional. But
Right.
maybe there I didn't realize it was like associated. I didn't realize it was specifically HTTP streaming. But again, not something I actually know details about.
Yeah. But yes, this is unidirectional the way we're using it.
Mhm.
I can definitely say that. Where the server's just sending stuff down and the client is not requesting a stream and the client's not sending a stream of information. Since you asked that, commenter, I'm curious what use case you have to like when would a client send a stream back to the server? Like when would I do that? Because I can't think of use cases other than like WebSockets, but apparently it's a separate thing. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, anything like real time back and forth, like a chat app would use WebSockets and send and receive updates.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I guess it is interesting. We've got different defaults here. They're not as similar as I thought. Where like React, you kind of opt in and you also have a fallback. That's something Astro doesn't have. There's no way to put loading spinners as any of these things are coming up. They're just streaming because they're streaming. And in React, you can flip that off and actually block everything if you wanted to. So yeah, there's more app-like stuff you can do. Astro's never thought about loading spinners because we've never needed them. But if there's one thing I associate React with, it's loading. So
So in
makes
theory
sense.
though, how would you handle showing a loading state for this?
For Astro,
Yeah.
well, you got to flip to that client island, I would think, or a client side script because
Okay.
there's no way to like send. Well, now I'm curious. Hang on. Can you like modify a stream as it's coming through? Like, how is React able to tell it render a loading spinner No, 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 wait, actually render this. Like, how is it telling it to replace when it comes
It's
back through?
it's probably just like some unique identifier for that section,
Yeah,
like for that component, and then it like the stream message just says like, "Here's the new version of that thing." I would assume.
I would think. Yeah, that looks like it's what it's doing. It's a lower. So fallback loading, children L3, and this is 3. So maybe that's what this is doing. I've
Cool.
learned that this is like the type of component. It's like it's trying to make it as small as possible. Oh wait,
Mhm.
no, these are the symbols. That's what it's saying. So it's like when I say 2, I mean this. I mean suspense.
Mm.
Maybe. These are like machine instructions. There's no
Yeah.
reason to get into this.
Yep.
But yeah, it's saying like a component is a suspense component and the child is the thing to replace with.
Mhm.
So, like, this is rendering a suspense that has this content until it's ready, and then it does
Yep.
this. And I'm sure there's some client side JS that's like interpreting that and rendering a suspense component because it's part of React core. It's already there. You might as well go reach for it.
Mhm.
So,
Makes
yeah, it's a
sense.
little bit of JavaScript that like knows what to do with this
What to
instruction
do
to
with
turn it
yeah.
into this. Yeah. And
Interesting.
Astro
I've
is
never
Node.js, so what are you gonna do?
yeah, that's cool. I actually need to run,
Oh yeah.
but that was super interesting, especially to have the revelation that Astro does streaming.
Yeah. So it's not as special as I thought it was. It's just it's a web standard. You can stream stuff
Mhm.
however you want. It's just React streams
Being able to
components.
interpret it
Yeah.
and replace is the big part, yeah.
Yeah, like React is streaming this proprietary object and Astro is streaming HTML, like straight HTML. So
Mhm.
closer standards. But yeah, I won't keep you. This was super fun though.
Yeah, same
I
here.
know it was kind of deep, but I hope some people got something out of this. We got some that's so cools.
Yep.
So
And the
that's
and the
always a
and
good
they clipped
sign.
our reactions to the Astro streaming stuff.
Yeah. It's nice being surprised by the thing you built.
I
It's
know.
like, "Oh, it
In a
does
good
that
way.
already."
Surprise in a
Yeah,
good
in a
way is the
good
important
way.
part. Yeah,
In a
absolutely.
really good way.
Cool. All right, I'm
All
gonna
right.
run. Thanks for letting me join and ask questions. Thanks everybody in the chat.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on. Just through a little Twitter message.
I know.
We're out here.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
I'll catch y'all later.
All right. Take
See ya.
care. Have a good one.